Welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. It is noon in fabulous Las Vegas, where I am, and 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Hope you are all having a good one, and appreciate you hanging out with me, as always, as we get started on another edition of Trunk Nation in year number 10 of this daily program. And we are hoping, and I am hoping, that we can do something to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of this particular show sometime in the very near future. Stand by for that. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some sort of cold broadcast or something at some point before the end of the year. So I've had some dialogue about that. Not sure where it's going to go, but trying. So we'll see what happens. But I think it would be cool to commemorate doing this for 10 years. It's really, I'm about 99% sure, the only daily rock talk radio show on the planet, and it's lasted and existed for as long as it has and continues, of course. So it'd be kind of cool to do something special for that, but we'll see. It's cool and special just to be on with you guys every day doing it, so thank you for that. And let's get into it today, because we got a lot going on. It's a very, very busy Wednesday, and it will be a busy show tomorrow as well, because right now we are looking at tomorrow having Matt Sorum back on the show for a recap about the charity gig that he did in Southern California with Paul Rogers, Geezer Butler, and many special guests, which is now coming out as an album. So we'll spend a little time with Matt Sorum tomorrow, and also very likely tomorrow, I don't think it's 100% confirmed, but it's looking very likely, returning to the program. And I say returning because I did do an in-person interview with him, speaking of this show being 10 years old, probably around 8 years ago. And that is actor Billy Bob Thornton, who currently is starring in the hit TV show Landman, but and of course there's a long history in movies and TV and what have you. But he is also a huge music fan, as many know, and he has a band. He has had a band for a very long time. When I did the in-person interview with him, it was from NAMM. I did a broadcast from there. He came by, and that was the last time I talked to him. And he is in this coming documentary, or maybe it's out now, documentary called If These Walls Could Rock, about the Sunset Marquis Hotel in LA, which I spoke about after I saw the doc a few weeks ago. So Billy Bob is a big fan of that hotel. He has stayed there, and he is almost the de facto host of this documentary because he is in it quite a bit. So that's the main thing he's coming on to promote. We'll talk a little music with him. We don't have a ton of time with him, and if it happens tomorrow, it'll be on the back end of the show, likely somewhere around 4:30 Eastern. So very likely Billy Bob Thornton on the show tomorrow, along with Matt Sorum. Today on the show, one of my favorite bands and always a character to talk to, Dave Pirner returns to the program. Of course, the lead dude from Soul Asylum, songwriter, guitarist, lead singer. Dave Pirner and Soul Asylum are always on tour, it seems like, these days. Although I've not had a chance to see them in a while, which I'm bummed out about because I love seeing them live. And they've been doing a mix of acoustic shows and a mix of electric shows. And they have an acoustic album coming out on August 28th called MPLS Unplugged, which basically stands for Minneapolis Unplugged, which of course is where the band is from. So we'll talk to him about the album, and we'll talk to him about what's going on with Soul Asylum and see what he can tell us and see what he knows. He may not know too much. If you've heard past interviews with Dave, he's very, very just Dave, you know. I love him for it. So we'll see what he has to say. Always great to visit with him. Also, and I am not guaranteeing this at all, but there is major news that I woke up to today in rock that I was at first was wondering if it was real. My friend Stoney Curtis sent me a screen grab saying that Richie Blackmore was going to play with Deep Purple tonight, Long Island, New York, at Jones Beach Amphitheater. And again, because there is so much fake stuff online now more than ever, whether they're articles, stories, audio, video, images, what appear to be ads for shows, what appear to be photos of two people together. It makes it very, very, very hard, especially doing what I do, to disseminate what's real and what's not, and to go on the air with it or not go on the air with it. So Stoney sent me a screen grab of this Guitar World post saying that Blackmore was going to play with Deep Purple tonight for the first time in 30 years. And my first reaction and text back to him was, "You sure this is real?" And he said, "It appears to be legit. It's on Guitar World's website." So I did a little hunting and pecking around, and apparently it is real. And I emailed Roger Glover, who of course is the bass player in Deep Purple. And as you guys know, I've got some history with Deep Purple, really good history, having toured with them a number of years ago. And I sent Roger a note and I said, "Hey, is this really happening? And if so, will you be willing to come on and talk about it?" And he got back to me and he said, "Yeah, how about it? Apparently it is happening." He goes, "But I don't know too much about it right now." So this was a couple hours ago. So this would have been, around 1:00 New York time that he would have gotten we had that exchange. So I gave Roger the number and I told him, if you can and you've got a window and you're up for it, I would love to have you call in and give your thoughts on this. Again, there's no promise he's going to do it or if he can do it. And also, judging by his email back to me, he seemed to be had very little information about it, even though, of course, he's in the band. So we will see. I doubt he'll call in. However, maybe we get a recap next week or tomorrow. I don't know if we'll have time tomorrow with all that's going on, but maybe we'll get a recap from him after it happens, assuming it does happen tonight. But if you happen to be in the New York area of Long Island, Jones Beach, which is an amphitheater there, it's been there forever. It's right on the water. I've gone to a couple shows there, not many though, because from New Jersey, it's a nightmare to get to. And I'm nowhere near there right now because I'm in Vegas, but you will likely see something extremely special and extremely rare tonight. If in fact Blackmore does follow through and does come out and play with the band. Now, Blackmore himself revealed that he's going to do this on social media. And again, I've talked about this so many times. Deep Purple and Richie Blackmore are looked at totally differently in America than they are throughout Europe. And for that matter, Mexico. Look, when I went to Mexico with Deep Purple, which is where I toured with them about 8 years ago, we did press in every city in Mexico, and every person kept bringing up Blackmore. And he had been out of the band for, at that point, 25 plus years. And Purple in general, as I've said so many times, is completely looked at differently in other parts of the world than in America. I am not saying they are not known in America. Of course they are. But they do not have nearly the same standing and stature as they do in other parts of the world in America. I've made this comparison often. In other parts of the world, Deep Purple are looked at the way we in America look at Led Zeppelin. So why I bring this up is that even though this is happening allegedly or hopefully tonight in New York, this will send shockwaves around the world if, in fact, Blackmore takes that stage tonight. And it is, where it's certainly news in America, globally, this will reverberate. And it's an interesting time for Blackmore because he is 81 years old, I believe. He left rock music many years ago to do Renaissance music. He basically would not even allow discussion about Deep Purple or Rainbow for years and would not do interviews if you brought that up. And then in very recent years, we saw him do a few Rainbow reunion shows with a different lineup, again, only in Europe. Never did one in America. And those were, hit or miss as far as how they were received, if I'm being honest. In terms of the reviews. I didn't see him, of course, but what went on at that time. I think it was about 5 years ago, roughly, that he did those shows. But what's really been interesting recently when it comes to Blackmore is that he has been starting to do interviews and talking about things like Rainbow and Dio and Purple, where for the longest time he just seemed to want to completely not, shut that out of his, of any dialogue. And my understanding is a lot of it had to do with some grievances he had from past managers of those bands or some legal stuff. I don't really know. But regardless, in recent years, he has absolutely seemed more open to discussing that, to the point that there was a Rainbow Dio box set, the 3 Rainbow Dio albums that came out in some sort of re-release recently. And I was shocked to see this. He did press for it in a few outlets and talked about Ronnie. I mean, I haven't seen that in decades. So I don't know if it's a byproduct of him just getting older and, realizing that this is his legacy and starting to embrace it a little bit more. But he certainly seems to have come around a little bit. And now, if he in fact does take the stage with Deep Purple tonight, it is going to really complete a circle that has been building the last couple years. And, on social media, he said that, and for those that don't know, the reason why this would be happening on Long Island tonight is because for years, Richie Blackmore has lived in Long Island, New York. So he literally lives there and is very close. And if in fact it does happen, I mean, I'll be totally honest with you, it's going to open up a can of worms. There's no question about it. Because for years, for decades, Blackmore has basically done everything he can to distance himself from this world. And being honest, the 3 members in the current lineup of Deep Purple who were part of the Mark II lineup, the Blackmore Classic era, Ian Pace, Ian Gillan, and Roger Glover, have also done their best to distance themselves from all this. Just not that they wouldn't talk about it, but they've tried so hard to move on from the enormous shadow that this guy cast in that band. Bringing in Joe Satriani to play guitar, bringing in Steve Morse to play guitar. Now, in the last few years, bringing in this new younger player, Simon McBride. But all of them will tell you they all operated under the shadow of Blackmore, who is, again, globally considered one of the all-time guitar icons. And rightfully so, by the way. Again, in America, insanely underrated. So this is a really interesting development on a lot of different levels. And it also, again, I think, opens up a can of worms, because I can tell you, having spent time with the Purple guys, They did not want to entertain questions for decades. They've tried not to entertain questions and deal with questions about Blackmore and him potentially coming back to the band. Well, now he goes on that stage with them tonight. Prepare for the floodgates to open and prepare for people to start asking questions about a potential final reunion lap, perhaps. I mean, it's only natural people are going to ask that. Whether that's reality or not, or there's any substance to it, we don't know. But it is only natural, and I would think be fully expected for people to start asking those questions. Now, could that even happen? I mean, all of these guys are like 80 years old at this point. So is that even realistic, even if they wanted it to happen? Well, I don't know. Purple, they don't seem to stop, even though they've been saying they're going to stop for eight years, but they're making records. They're still touring. Who knows? But, anything seems to be possible here, and we will see where this goes. And I will be very, very interested to see what transpires around. Well, I think on this show tonight, Kansas is on the bill with Purple. So Purple will be second, probably go on stage roughly 8:30, I would think. So, and they're saying that Blackmore will come out and play the encore. So roughly 10:30 Eastern time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. By 11 o'clock Eastern time, we will know what happened and what went down. And I'm sure the world will have tons of cell phone video to see instantly on social media. And I will be one very curious, looking for it to see what happened. In the post that Blackmore made about it, he said he was hoping to play Highway Star, but he wanted to just play the encore. And the band opens with Highway Star. So whether they would change that to accommodate him, I don't know. I don't know what their encores are normally. But judging from what Roger sent me back, they're still trying to figure this out. And, that was a couple hours ago, so maybe there is a bit more clarity on it. But huge news and a potential huge ripple effect. And lastly on this, a couple of years ago, before Deep Purple announced this younger guy, Simon McBride, as their replacement for Steve Morse, if you listen to me on a regular basis, you know that I talked about heavy rumors at that time that at that point, Blackmore was going to come back to the band and they were going to do one last global reunion tour. Listen, make no mistake, if Deep Purple reunited with Ritchie Blackmore, it would immediately put them back in arenas and in some parts of the world, stadiums. Instantly. That's how much it means. Especially outside of the U.S. But there were heavy rumors a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, that this was going to happen as a reunion. And I brought it up to Roger Glover. He's like, no, I don't know where that came from. So whether there was anything to that or not at that time, I don't know. But again, remember this, at least as of now, is just going to be a 1 or 2 songs for the encore only tonight in New York because Blackmore lives there. But to me, it has way wider reaching potential aspects to it. And we will see what happens. The first thing that's got to happen is he's got to follow through and do it. Anybody knows anything about the history of Ritchie Blackmore, too, he can be quite erratic, famously erratic. So let us see what happens here. But it is incredible, astonishing news if you know the scope of this, especially on a global level. It's been 30 years since Ritchie Blackmore played a show with a band he co-founded, Deep Purple. A few other notes here, then we'll get to Dave Pirner. Of course, we had a great show yesterday with you guys calling in on your, whatever we were calling it. I keep defaulting to what the caller called it, rock douche moment. rock gone wrong, I think we called it yesterday. I'm sure we got a lot of people who didn't get through yesterday. No, we do. So we'll maybe have time for you, assuming Roger Glover does not call in. We'll have a lot of the second hour for your calls today if you want to pick up on that. Roger Taylor of Queen released a single today from his coming new album. The album is called Violence, Insane in a Beautiful World, and it will be released on September 18th. We talked, I don't know what, last week we did the show with songs you're totally burnt on, and we talked about a lot of songs that people just can't hear anymore because they're just toast. You hear them too many times. Crazy Train was one that came up a lot. I said to you guys, there's a reason why songs are hits, though. Reason why we're in the minority on that, where most people want to hear these songs over and over and over again, even though if they've heard them a billion times. Well, bearing that out, the new metric for incredible success is streaming numbers. And on Spotify, the latest track to enter their billion plus streams, billion with a B, is in fact Crazy Train. So for all of you guys like me who can't hear it ever again and are burnt on it, every second somebody's pushing play on that and getting pumped up to hear it yet again. The latest entry in the billion plus streams club on Spotify. Great for Bob Daisley, who wrote the lyrics to the song, and Randy Rhoads, of course, who wrote the music to the song, whoever gets his publishing. The late, great Lee Kerslake. It's unfortunate that the people that of all the people that recorded and wrote the first two Ozzy albums, Blizzard and Diary, all of them have now passed away, with the exception, of course, of Bob Daisley, who was the lyricist and bass player. Speaking of passing away, the sole original member of the Moody Blues, the sole member of the sole surviving member of that band, and a guy who has been on this show, Justin Hayward, has announced some tour dates today, August 28th through September 20th. Some additional ones added in there. Wishing a get well to Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart had some issues on stage recently where he needed to get some oxygen and he needed to take a break and he needed to kind of sit down on the drum riser. Rod Stewart is 81 years old, still active, still touring, still doing residencies in Vegas, but it was an alarming sight when he came out and was unable to get through a song in his set on stage. I believe that show was in Colorado, and I believe at that time they attributed it to the altitude. Well, as we found out, there has been something more going on with Rod because he revealed that he has had a heart procedure and has had a stent put into his heart. So he obviously, certainly the altitude may have played a role, but he also was clearly dealing with something else going on there as well, which thankfully doctors have said they were able to deal with, and that Rod is making a recovery and did well in the surgery. Now, you might say Rod Stewart's 81. He's made an incredible contribution to music. He is wealthy beyond words. Now, coming off heart surgery, maybe Rod is just going to chill. Nope. No, sir. He claims he's going to take about 4 weeks off under the direction of the doctors and then get back out there playing on the road. But if you were planning to see Rod in the next 4 weeks, your shows are likely going to be canceled. Those include about 15 dates around the country, as well as additional dates here in Vegas. So about a month off for Rod, and then they'll see how he's doing, and he wants to get back out there. Me? I'd probably go sit on a beach somewhere if I was him, but We talk about it all the time. These guys cannot leave the spotlight. Even if, clearly it's not about money here, but I think it's absolutely an attention thing. We talk about it all the time with some of these guys that cannot stay away. Health problems keep coming. They just need the spotlight. They're so used to it. Let's see here. In something you never thought you would see, or maybe didn't think you ever needed, Engelbert Humperdinck, who has come up a number of times on this show, released his version of the Kiss tune Beth today. The Peter Criss sung and co-written massive hit ballad from 1976 is Destroyer, 50 years after it was originally released and was a hit. Engelbert, the all-time crooner, has recorded it and released it as a single and video today. Rick Wakeman of Yes plays keyboards on it. This is part of an album that Engelbert has coming out where he does covers of many rock ballads. So we see Engelbert dabbling in this world, and of course, famously, William Shatner. Both of these guys are in their 90s, right, Joel? Didn't you say Engelbert's like same age as Shatner, right? Mid-90s?
90, exactly, on the nose.
90. Shatner's like 95, right?
Yeah, Shatner's 95.
Incredible. So Shatner getting into metal at 95, doing a metal album, and Engelbert, look, the stuff he's doing is rock ballads and big hits and all that, but still, at 90, doing a Kiss tune. My late aunt, who was like another mother to me, she loved Engelbert. Man, it would be unbelievable to be able to tell her, hey, Engelbert's doing Kiss. Like something I just never as a kid thought anybody would ever see. I'd be curious to know what Peter thinks of it. Let me see. Do I have anything else here for you guys today? No, that's pretty much it. I saw a documentary. Our friend Richard Christie had it sent to me last night on the male porn star Peter North. That is simply called Peter, and it's out now. And it's a pretty interesting, entertaining doc if you are so inclined. And it does have a rock element to it because this guy was, he's still alive and I think he's still active in the porn industry, but he was a legendary figure in the world of porn for a number of reasons. And he is the subject of a documentary which features a lot of rock sort of overtones. One of the artists or people interviewed in the documentary are the guys in Steel Panther who, they tie in their humor of the music they do with what he does and have some funny insights. But, he tells a story about a party at Tommy Lee's house. And then he talks about a couple other rock things and rock personalities, something with CeCe DeVille in there. My buddy Steve Gibb, who is a musician and plays with a bunch of different artists, including with his dad, Barry Gibb. He's in it. I didn't know it. They were both in rehab together. So there's definitely a rock overtone to this documentary, but it's very much about the porn industry and that era of porn. Again, it's simply called Peter, and it is out now on your streaming platforms. You do have to pay a rental fee to watch it, but appreciate Richard sending that to me. And I worked in a video store as a kid many, many years ago, back in the days when you would go rent your VHS tapes behind the curtain. So I knew these films from back then quite well because many times I was taking the VHS tapes and renting them out to people in the plastic boxes back in those days. Joel, anything you got?
Nothing to add today. You got what I had.
All right, we should have Dave Pirner soon, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll see if we have Dave ready, and we'll talk to him for a bit. Then we're going to talk to you.
More hard and heavy talk.
Everything's live the way we like it.
Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
It is amazing.
All right, we are back. Hanging, talking rock with you as we do every day here on Trunk Nation, Faction Talk 103 or the Sirius XM app, anytime live or on demand. It is always a treat when I get to spend a little time talking to this guy. He's one of my favorites, and his band Soul Asylum is super active with all sorts of good stuff going on, including a new record coming, and a lot to talk to about with this guy. And it is Dave Pirner of Soul Asylum joining us. DP, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, Eddie. It's good to sort of see you.
We're doing this on Zoom, so you can kind of make me out a little bit. You know, I got to tell you something. I'm very impressed because while you were getting your Zoom shot set up, I've known you for a while, and you've always seemed to be a bit of a technologically challenged guy, if I have that right. So you look like you have people now setting your shit up for you. It was impressive. You had guys like setting your camera and your microphone. You got it covered, man.
That's my front of house sound guy, Colin. And I only have professionals doing this for me. But you are absolutely correct. I don't trust myself I don't want to be in the middle of a conversation with you and have the thing fail and not know what to do. But yeah, I'm a technophobe, a Luddite even maybe, but I try to adapt as much as I can with the computer studio gear and my phone, and that's about enough. Otherwise, it's just the same old shit, drums and wires and guitars and stuff, which I still wouldn't fix my own guitar. I don't trust myself to do that.
Are you a flip phone guy? Do you have a flip phone?
No, I finally gave in to the iPhone eventually.
It's on iPhone 17 and you just gave in.
Yeah. Yeah.
How you doing with that, Dave? Have you figured it out yet?
Well, there's a lot of things that happen that are, it makes people kind of frustrated with me. So like the last record we were making, Steve Jordan's like, I'm going to send you something on email. And I'm like, I don't have email. And he's like, come on, man. So it does get annoying sometimes. But I'm trying as hard as I can. And,
well, we appreciate that, and you know what?
I kind of not as hard as I can.
I kind of envy Dave. I got to tell you though, as much as I may laugh at this, I kind of envy it a little bit, man, because these things, these phones, these things consume our life, and if you can get away with it, I mean, you know who's got the best move with the whole cell phone thing? Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper does not carry a phone with him. Now you can reach him, but you're either going to text or call or email his wife, his tour manager, someone on his crew, but Alice won't even carry it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I had a nice run-in with Alice Cooper in Spain at the airport, and he couldn't have been more sweet. And I brought up the show that he played in Minneapolis, which was the first big concert I ever went to. And somebody opened a can of tear gas, and I was kind of towards the back, and the whole crowd was running at me. And the tear gas hadn't hit me yet, so I couldn't understand what was happening. And then it hit me, and everybody evacuated. And there I was, 20-some, however many years later, talking to Alice Cooper about it. And he's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. We made T-shirts, shit like that. And like, yeah. He's great. He's very personable, and he's Alice Cooper. And if Alice Cooper doesn't want to carry a phone on him, who's gonna tell him he has to?
And it's also pretty darn cool. A guy like that in his late 70s who went through all kinds of crazy shit with drugs, alcohol, whatever, has come out the other end so good and so healthy and so strong. And he's got 2 different bands. He's constantly touring. still making new records every year or two. I mean, that's pretty amazing, and it's got to be somewhat inspirational when you see. We were talking about Deep Purple off the air. When you see some of these guys like 80 years old still going, I mean, that's got to. You've been in the game for a long time, but that's nothing. You're a kid by comparison.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't carry his phone when he's golfing. I'll tell you that. That would be a real groove crusher.
So listen, let's talk about the stuff Soul Asylum's got going on, because you've got a record coming out that is a live record, Unplugged, MPLS Minneapolis Unplugged, and it'll be released in a couple weeks, August 28th. And it's basically 30 years after MTV Unplugged, a sort of return to that concept, right, Dave?
Yes, it is. I think that was kind of like, wow, it's been 30 years. Well, then they reissued the MTV thing, which made it seem more relevant or something. And we have done stuff like that in Minneapolis, kind of half-ass or whatever. But yeah, it was kind of inspired by that thing. But when we had the State Theater show with the initial mix, so that's what we gave to the string players and the background singers and stuff. And I guess the essence of it for me is that the new live unplugged record, or whatever you call it, is mostly material that was written after the last live unplugged record. Yeah, keep a couple of the gems in there, but I guess that's plus it was in Minneapolis, which made it different than a studio in an MTV studio. But that turned out to be sort of the MTV Unplugged thing turned out to be a great experience for us because it worked. Like, we went into it not really being sure if we could pull it off. So we had Ivan Neville play with us the other night at the Dakota, and he's actually the link between the Unplugged show and this show. So,
because he played with you on the MTV one too, right?
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you initially did the MTV one, you know, at that time, a lot of people saw Soul Asylum as this new band, because even though you had many records out before then, you had just broken off. What was the new album at the time? Was it Grave Dancers or Dim Light that you did on that Unplugged?
If I remember correctly, it was Grave Dancers, and it was after the first single, which was Somebody to Shove, but it was before Runaway Train was released as a single. That's my remembering the time frame, which I'm terrible at. So
yeah, well, I'm bad with time frames too. But the other big difference, obviously, is your bandmates were totally different then as well. So talk about, you know, that approach, because you've been playing with Ryan and these guys for a while, but this is the first time you did an acoustic thing with them, right?
Me and Ryan have been touring acoustic, and we're going out to do it again. People seem to really like it. So I think that was also maybe part of it. Yeah, I just feel lucky that I sort of made the connection, which seems obvious now. But I suppose with the Grave Dancers Union record, I started writing on acoustic guitar a lot. And that sort of snowballed into, let's do acoustic shows. So we'd always kind of had them in the peripheral, you know. You needed to play a few things acoustic if you want to go on the radio or whatever. So that it just kind of got to be more and more user friendly. Whereas when we started out, I mean, the first however many 10 years or so, there was no acoustic anything. It was all just loud electric guitars, and it never really occurred to anybody that, oh yeah, those two instruments are the same, only one's electric and one's acoustic. So it took me a while to figure that out, but um, yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, I think what was happening back then, especially in the days of MTV when you did the initial one, was that it became such a thing because of the success of MTV Unplugged. Every band had to do an acoustic record or tour or an appearance on there. And I think some bands it worked for, and clearly I honestly think for Soul Asylum it works because the songs are great songs and they lend themselves to it. But there was a time there where like it was like everyone, there were two things that everybody had to do: play with an orchestra and do an acoustic record. I remember when they did Marilyn Manson acoustic, and I'm like, I don't know if that one works so much for me.
Play that one.
Well, it wasn't an MTV one, but he did an acoustic show. It's just like everybody felt like they had to do it. It became a thing. A band like Tesla broke off of doing an acoustic record. They actually spearheaded the whole MTV Unplugged thing because they did a cover of Signs, which became their biggest song. So it's interesting when you look back on that. At that time, everyone was doing acoustic, but I always thought your music and your songs lent themselves to this, and that kind of ties into what you just said. Did you write a lot of, even the songs on the new Unplugged, were many of those initially written acoustic on an acoustic guitar?
Yeah, I mean I think the real revelation was Somebody to Shove. When we played it with strings, it sounded so adaptable that we decided to not have drums because the strings were kind of propelling the chugging of the electric guitars and shit. And it really worked. And I think when that happened, we were like, oh, so now things are, I'm less apprehensive about going, oh, well, we can adapt that song to an acoustic format. So, from the new record, we're doing High Road, which is a completely electric kind of song. But when you put strings to it, it just sounds not bizarre, but like some different shit, like some different kind of music, which I dig quite a bit. And then there's, things that are very adaptable, like anything.
Were there things that you tried to do for this record, Dave, from your catalog that just didn't work, that you're like, I'd really like to do that one, but then it didn't work in this format?
Probably, except at this point, I've gotten better at imagining what the similarity or how it could be adapted or
Either.
adapted. So, yeah, it. I mean, there was one song we played at the State Theater, and then we got a different string section, and that was Made to Be Broken, and they're like, we don't want to play that thing. That goes, which is the part that I used to play, but it's so hard to play that now I make Ryan play it, and the string players weren't having it. They're like, nah, we ain't gonna play that. And I was like, all right. So you do have to sort of uh, be constantly adapting. Like we were supposed to practice a little more, but we got stuck in an airport for 2 days. So it had a thrown together element to it that I didn't like. But it's part of the game or whatever, over rehearse, under rehearse, see what happens, that kind of thing. So it's fun. It's fun to, just get involved with other musicians. It's fun to play with a string quartet. Just I find myself we'll start out a song and the background vocalists are just singing and there's two women with beautiful voices and I'll forget to come in singing because it sounds so good without me.
Well, there's some stuff on this new record. I had a chance to listen to it. I'm really glad you did. I love that you did Eyes of a Child. I mean, that's a great song. And it's so perfect for this. I love that you did something like Lately because I love that album. And then, you've got Homesick, which is awesome on here. I love the version of Homesick. And then you got stuff that obviously, like as you said, you've got the big ones that you got to have on here. You got Somebody to Shove. You got Without a Trace. You've got Runaway Train. You got Black Gold. I mean, those were all. I'm sure the record label wouldn't have been like, you got to have those on there, even though they may have been on the previous one.
We sort of not agonized, but we had this thing where we did a mix of the record of the live show, and it wasn't right. But we had to get the record out to some as a fan club thing or whatever. I don't even know what they call it anymore. But it wasn't right. So then we went in and remixed it and got it right. And at one point or another, it was like, well, let's cut Runaway Train. And I was like, I don't care. You know. So there was a back and forth between, well, people have heard it so many times, or I got one of the people that got the earlier version of it came up to me and said, "What the fuck, man? You left your biggest song out the record or whatever." So I thought I was doing an interview yesterday, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's a double record because me and you grew up with a double live record is how you do it, but we had more material than a double LP would have, and was like, well, let's cut Runaway Train. And I thought that's what happened. So I'm doing this interview and the guy's asking me about shit. And I grabbed the record and I looked at it and I went, oh, I was wrong. Runaway Train is on there.
It's only your biggest song. You didn't know if it was on.
It's hard to, but I'm over all that.
You've written a lot of songs, so I can understand one getting lost in the shuffle. But then again, that is the song in the Soul Asylum catalog in terms of popularity. Did you have any idea when you wrote Runaway Train? I always wonder about this when I talk to artists who have that one song. And again, you know me, I love your songs and I love your albums, and I know most of them inside out. But every band, every artist, a lot of them have that one song that's the huge one that everyone knows. In your case, it's clearly Runaway Train. When you wrote that, did you have any idea that was going to be special and become that song in the moment when you were writing it and recording it?
No, I'd say zero. It was just another song. And I guess that's sort of the part of it that makes it more authentic to me, because I wasn't, I was in a state of something where I needed to get that out of my system, but it wasn't a good place I was coming from. And when people identified with that, it was really interesting. I was just doing an interview the other day in England. We just got back from there. And the guy said, and brought up the song, and I just immediately thought that he was going to start asking me about runaway children. So I just kind of started saying, oh yeah, they're using Runaway Train in the Ukraine to find kids now, and it keeps, that thing has persisted. Like, I'm friends with Tony Kaye and his daughter, the director who directed the Runaway Train video. So I just assumed that that's people's orientation. And then he went, well, that's not really what I was talking about. He said, the Runaway Train was one of the songs that brought mental health to the forefront of popular culture. And I was like, well, that's a lofty claim, but it's kind of makes sense to me. I mean, the song's not about runaway children. I guess.
But the video sent that message, right?
Yeah.
So did the video ever, if I remember, I haven't watched the video in a little while, but wasn't there a phone number or something at the end of the video? Did that ever yield anything? Do you know?
Depending on who I talk to, we've recovered quite a few missing people, but it just depends on who I talk to. It's always a different number. But I have talked to a couple of them. I did a thing where I was being interviewed, and the woman that was in the video who came back home after she saw the video, was telling me uh, that she's doing great and thanks for the song that made me go back to, and now I'm happily married with kids and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I got a little emotional, but I am close to that cause. Um, However, yeah, it was just a word association for Tony K. He just went runaway train, runaways. Ah, we'll focus on that.
Mm.
So
Uh, there's another track on that you did on the new MPLS Unplugged, and that is a track from The Silver Lining, which, gun to my head, might be my favorite Soul Asylum album. And it's Stand Up and Be Strong. And I will never forget, a long time ago, I was at a show with you guys, and I was on the bus, and I was talking to your drummer, Michael Bland, who many people may or may not know played with Prince. And I remember at that time, Michael saying to me, pointing to you and say, can you believe that Prince covered one of this guy's songs? And I'm like, he's pointing to you. I go, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, he covered Stand Up and Be Strong. And at that point, the Prince version, nobody had ever heard it. And I don't think you hadn't even heard it at that time. It's since come out, right? And you've done it now. You've done a new version of it on the new acoustic record. But can you share the story of that, of how Prince decided to do that song and when you finally heard his version of it?
Sure. Michael called me, or I think Michael told me that Prince had heard the song and he said, that's a hit. And then a little bit later, Michael called me and said, Prince wants your blessing to cover Runaway, Stand Up and Be Strong. And I was like, sure, whatever, you know. And that was kind of the end of it. So after they opened the vault or whatever, that was something that was more or less finished, I'm assuming. So I had heard about this by this time, and I got a CD to play in the car to listen to it. And the first thing you hear is this voice, and you're like, that, how can that be what Prince sounds like on this recording? And he gives the first line of the song to a woman. So one of the singers on this show we just did was I got a singer named Ashley Commodore to sing the woman's part, and we did it Prince style at a Prince tribute. And I'm fascinated with that. I mean, I lived in New Orleans for 24 years, and how people interpret is fascinating. I can go out and watch 5 bands play My Funny Valentine, and they'll all play it completely differently. And that's kind of an exciting thing about music. So, you know, when I heard it, I was like, wow, that's really different. And I kind of, yeah, I kind of picked it apart in a way, like, why did he do this there? And why did he do that there? But yeah, we were able to pull it off with Michael's Prince tribute band with some of the members of Prince's bands in it. And then we were going to do it with Soul Asylum at First Avenue. And the band said, well, we like our version better than Prince's version. And I was like, well, you have to say that. You're in the band. When I said that at the Dakota the other night, Michael goes, well, I was in both bands, so my opinion matters more. So, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's a real kick and a real kind of just sort of a I don't know, a sweet thing for me. The few times I ran into Prince, he was kind and shy, but I didn't know that he was listening to my music, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing as a guy, you know, Prince, who wrote songs for so many and of course has an insane catalog of his own, is taking a song you wrote and saying, yeah, I want to do this. And the fact that he called or asked if it was okay, it's interesting because Jonathan, he also called Jonathan Cain from Journey decades ago, because I never put this together, because of Journey's Faithfully, he wanted to borrow the melody for Purple Rain. And he asked Jonathan Cain if it was cool. And Jonathan Cain's like, yeah. I mean, that's a little different. He didn't cover the song. He was just taking a little piece of the song. But for you, he's like, yeah, I really want to do that song. I mean, that's amazing, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah, he changed a couple things. And I was like, well, I've had people cover my songs and they'll change a couple things. And I don't know. Then they think that they like the Elvis thing. I was like, what is Prince gonna change a few things around and then say he wrote it or something? There was all that. And then I was reading, believe it or not, Ebony magazine. Prince was on the cover and he was doing an interview and he was working on Stand Up and Be Strong, and that ended up in the magazine. And that was years before it came out or whatever. But then I knew that he had been working on it. But it's cool. I mean, I like what he did with it.
It's really interesting when you see whether somebody covers your songs, or we're talking about this latest Unplugged record again for Soul Asylum. It comes out August 28th. What can happen to your own songs when you change them and you kind of do them in this context, in this format? It's not on this record, but I was asking you about songs that you think lend themselves to this and songs that don't, and maybe songs that do lend themselves to acoustic, but you'd be surprised to find out the original versions. And I got to tell you, it's not on this record, but your song Closer to the Stars, you did an acoustic version of that. I have it. I forget. I don't know what record that's originally from. But that, to me, that version of it, I always, I'm a guitar nerd. I'm a heavy rock guy. I always like the rock stuff. I always give me a full-on rock version. But to me, Closer to the Stars was an example of a song that I think worked even better when you did it as like the acoustic version. I don't know what record that was for. I know it's on one of the greatest hits compilations.
The Unplugged. It might have been. It probably, maybe. Yeah, I think maybe it was. But people talk to me about that. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's better." Every now and then, someone's like, "Are you ever going to go back to the electric version?" And it just, whatever. But yeah, it's that's a good example of a song that was written on the acoustic guitar that then just went into a punk rock band and tried to become a punk rock song, I guess. And then yeah, when I did it sort of more how I wrote it, it seemed to work better, which is kind of, I guess I'm agreeing with you. That's why we do it the way we do it now.
See, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So you're saying that the way acoustic, I would never have thought that hearing that song, because for people that know that song, the studio version is, like you said, a very punked up rocking thing, and then you hear it in a completely different way when you hear it the acoustic version. But you're saying that song was written more like the acoustic version presented than what it ended up initially coming out as on the studio record.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I would have never known that.
That's what happens. What happens a lot to me.
Well, if you guys want to hear the version of the song that we're talking about, it's not on this record, but it's on the Black Gold Greatest Hits from Soul Asylum. Again, you got so many songs, man. It's impossible to get them all on here. But on this double record, you got a good 20 tracks on here that are killer, from even including some stuff from the latest record, and also you have 2 songs on the new Unplugged that never came out in a recorded way before, that you only did live, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Tell me about those. Farmer John?
Yeah, those are 2 songs that I was trying to get on a record at some point. And kind of what happens is I write a shitload of songs for a record and then, 10 make it and 20 don't. So they were a part of the sort of things that didn't. Actually recorded Farmer John in the studio, and What Will Become of Me has a very strange time signature. But the initial demo, I had a string bit that I played on some string simulator or something, and it really helped the time signature make more sense to me, anyways. Um, but yeah, they had just been kind of songs that people kind of remembered in the band. When I say people, it means the other three people in the band. Um, so yeah, at some point, I was just like, well, these aren't gonna ever make it onto a record for one reason or another. So we played them live, and then at this state theater thing. So I think that was a thing. Like the record label liked that there was a couple songs that are unreleased on there and new material. Um, and I just thought they were worth it. So it wasn't hard to get the rest of the band on it. Like Michael knew there was something to Farmer John, whatever you think about that song, but I kind of had to get that out of my system. It's relevant to things I understand is what happens when people move from the country to the city, I guess. Um, like
Well,
my people, or like so many people's.
let me ask you about what's going on now, because just in wrapping up here, you're in a studio. It's been a little while since the last full on album. Slowly but surely, we had you on for that last, I think. Are you working on a new record now?
We are. We have a record's worth of material, and we're talking about going into the studio sooner than later. And all those recordings have been made in this space. So, yeah, I mean, it's closer than I want to admit. Or like I just need to go record the record and not think about it. And that's one of those things. If I start second guessing everything, but I'm like, yeah, this seems like pretty good material.
Sound like you surprise yourself every time you say that.
And that's exactly right.
Are you going to use Steve Jordan again to produce it?
I am not sure. Well, Michael Bland said that I'm going to produce this session we're going in to do, and I produced
You as
other.
in Dave, or him as in Michael? He wants to do it, or you?
Well, yes, and Dave. The thing is, the Soul Asylum now is there's four producers in the band. Everybody in that band has recorded or produced or been a part of some form of production where you're always kind of going, can we do this ourselves? And a perfect example is this state theater show. So I didn't like the first mixes. I just thought they were not right. They didn't make you feel like you were there. And I don't know what the guy mixing was doing or thinking, but it just wasn't right. So I was talking to Colin, who was my front of house guy, and he said, why don't you get Jeremy to do it? And Jeremy is our bass player, and he did a great job. So, like, Ryan Smith has his own record label and he produces bands and this, that, and the other thing. And Michael, Michael's a studio rat. He just assumed be in the studio because, you don't have to tour. But yeah, it's a thing. It's kind of how it goes. So
And
it's still going.
It's still going, and it's still going good, man, because this is all good stuff. And anybody that's a chance to see Soul Asylum live, I can't recommend you more going to see it. It's so, so good. And I hope to catch a show somewhere soon. You pick up touring again on the, looks like the 16th of August in Solana Beach, California. We have listeners in Canada, too. You're getting up to Canada for some dates. And Dave, the last thing on the live shows, just so people understand, are these going to be acoustic? Or are they going to be electric? Are they going to be a mix of the two? How does it work?
This is all electric.
All
This
electric.
is all electric. Yeah. And it's pretty much designated like that. We go out, we do an all electric tour for this is a couple weeks or so, and or we'll go do a little acoustic run. And it's kind of interesting. Me and Ryan did an acoustic run in northern Minnesota, in places where I've never played before in northern Minnesota. And there are these old theaters that sound great, and people don't get a lot of live music that's not local or something. But it does. It takes you to different places, especially on the East Coast. There's all these old, beautiful theaters that don't want a rock band that's so freaking loud that it's too loud for the building or something. So we also get a chance to play in some pretty nice acoustic environments that do lend themselves to acoustic instruments instead of Marshall amps. Not that I wouldn't put a Marshall amp in there.
Well, listen, man, I hope to see you soon. And I love what I heard on this acoustic record. I love the track listing, and I love your songs, and I'm glad you're still at it. You still having fun after all these decades? You still enjoying it? You still liking where you're at?
I am. I mean, every day I just kind of think, well, I'm still doing it, and that kind of beats the odds right there. So I love my job, but it doesn't get any easier, I guess.
Well, we were just talking about guys in their 80s that are still doing it. So you got a lot of runway still ahead of you, Dave. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And now that you got an iPhone, it's going to be so much easier to travel, man. The whole world's going to open up to you.
I'm going to have a blogosphere and a whatever. Yeah. I'm on it, man. I'm going to get a green
Hey, man,
screen.
good talking to you, all right? Say hi to the guys. I hope to see you somewhere out there soon, all right?
Hope to see you too, Eddie. Take care. Appreciate it.
See you, Dave. There's Dave Pirner, everybody, from Soul Asylum. Again, the album's out August 28th. MPLS Unplugged, Minneapolis Unplugged, double album, acoustic. It's killer. I had a chance to listen to it last night, and I mean, the guy's got so many unbelievable songs that it's just endless, man. It's like, what do you do? What do you do when you got that many songs? How do you make a set list? How the hell do you put out a acoustic record and pick the songs? Again, if you know, you know. A lot of people, they hear Soul Asylum. It's like, oh, yeah, I know Runaway Train. Maybe know Somebody to Shove. Maybe know Misery. Maybe know Black Gold. Man, if you dig into that catalog, it's unbelievable. And that guy wrote all those songs. He is the sole songwriter of the band. And I think, and I've said this many times, I think he's one of our best songwriters. And I think in some ways he is criminally underrated in that area. Because again, I think people just look at it as, oh yeah, the band that did Runaway Train. Lyrically, some of that guy's lyrics are unbelievable. As a matter of fact, there was a book that was sent to me that he did a few years ago where somebody took every one of his songs that he ever wrote, and it's easily in the hundreds, probably a couple hundred at this point, and they just transcribed all the lyrics. And then Dave would give a paragraph or two about what he was thinking and what he wrote the song about. And I thought that was so cool. I was at I was at Rachel Boland's house a couple weeks ago, and Rachel had a book on his desk of Paul McCartney. They did the same thing with all McCartney's lyrics. Now, I'm not putting Dave Pirner in the McCartney category, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, you got to be a real wordsmith to be able to have somebody want to just read your lyrics in a book like that. And Dave has that. And as you just heard, Prince covered one of Dave's songs. Listen to a song. You want to hear a song that's unbelievable in terms of writing. And it's, by the way, it's on the new Unplugged record, a song called String of Pearls. It's basically a movie script in like a 4.5 minute songs. A 4.5 minute song. It is a completely incredible, comprehensive story. It's like, it literally, you listen to that song, it'll take you 4.5 minutes, whatever it is, and you get to the end of that song and you literally, there's no video for it, wasn't a hit, but in your mind, you have you have a movie. It's literally a written movie in a 4.5 minute song. It's crazy. And the guy's character, I think right out of the gate, the line of that interview was right out of the gate with the iPhone thing. Said something like he's trying to get up to speed and finally got an iPhone. When the iPhone has been out for 20 years and is on number 17. You gotta love that. You gotta love it. I told you I didn't get into it with him on the air, but one of my favorite Dave stories was he mentioned he lived in New Orleans for years, and he still has a place there. And I ran into him in the New Orleans airport, and we were going through security, and he was, trying to find his ID, dropping stuff on the floor, and then I broke off and I went into the pre-check lane. And I'll never forget this. I should have brought it up to him. He's going to me, how come you get to go over there? How do you do that? What is that? TS what? Preach it? What do you do? How come you get to go in that line? Like, well, Dave, you got to sign up for it, and you got to pay a little something. You get fingerprinted, whatever. It's like, I don't know how to do that. So he was like flummoxed. How are you a touring musician and you don't have pre-check? I wonder if with the iPhone, maybe he got pre-check. His mind would really be blown if he saw Clear, how Clear works, if you've ever used Clear. And I travel constantly, so I have all this stuff. When I tell you I have not taken out and had to show an ID in about 3 years to go through an airport. I literally go in, they scan my eyes, and I walk right through the airport security now. If you have Clear, you know what I'm talking about. It's crazy. It's literally a turnstile now. Scan, wait 1 second, go. His head would blow off his shoulders if he's discovered Clear. God, I love that guy. And I love his songs. And if you ever want to go see a show that's just an in-your-face, totally real, raw rock show, go see Soul Asylum in an electric show. And they're one of the few bands I would go see acoustic too, because I love his songs so much. A lot of acoustic stuff, I'll be honest, bores me. I need the heavy guitars, I need the drums, I need everything in my face. But Soul Asylum, I would see acoustic, no problem, because I love their songs and they work in that context. But if you want to go somewhere, have a couple beers, and go find a good club or a small theater where they're playing, get right down in front, have those guitars buzzing in your face, Dave bouncing that Telecaster off his knees. They are just... I saw him down on Fremont Street here in Vegas about 2 years ago. Oh, so good. The only thing I was bummed about with that was there was 2 other bands on the bill, so they only played an hour. But they'll go for almost 2 hours on one of their own shows when there's not other bands on the bill. All right, big thanks to Dave Pirner. Always great to visit with him. And keep an eye for Soul Asylum dates. As I mentioned, the album is out on the 28th, And the touring, I'll run that down for you real quick, resumes August 16th, Solana Beach, California. I don't know where that is. And then to Pomona. They go to Idaho, Montana, then to Canada, Calgary, Edmonton, Regina, Winnipeg. And then they finish up on the East Coast, or at least the dates now, September. Looks like a one-off in Virginia Beach. And then in November, Clearwater, Florida at a bike fest. So the dates are kind of scattered, although the rest of August is U.S. and Canada pretty much with scattered shows. So go to the web, see if there's one near you. Can't recommend it more highly. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll go to you guys on the phones. The big news, which I talked about at the top of the show today, which is really incredible. And again, clock is ticking now to see what happens here, is allegedly, apparently, by all accounts, Richie Blackmore is going to join Deep Purple on stage tonight, Long Island, New York, at Jones Beach, and perform a song or two for the first time in 30 years. The ramifications of that are pretty big in the rock world, especially, of course, the classic rock world. We can talk about that. If you didn't get through on yesterday's show with your rock gone wrong, whatever we called it, I still like rock douche. Whatever it is, 844-686-5863. We're back finishing up the hour talking to you on Trunk Nation.
Started out as a child, and I got a little steam to blow off, so please excuse me if I seem too wild. Just call it a freak accident, all my money spent, can't help myself.
What are we doing here? Preaching the good word of rock.
This is serious business.
Thanks for keeping the music alive.
Trunk Nation
Oh, okay. Is that what time it is?
with Eddie Trunk.
Okay, so we got a little bit of an update here. We can now confirm that returning to Trunk Nation tomorrow will be actor Billy Bob Thornton joining us live. And also a return for Matt Sorum to tomorrow's show. So a very, very busy Thursday show as well with two great guests. Matt will be talking about a recording of this charity concert that he did that is coming out. And Billy Bob Thornton joining us to talk about a documentary that he is prominently in on the Sunset Marquis Hotel in Los Angeles, which is a hotel that he is very much a fan of and has spent a lot of time at and has lived at, I believe, at certain points in his career ever since spending a lot of time in LA. I don't know if he lives in LA now, but very much looking forward to talking to him. Of course, a super accomplished actor, but also a big rock music fan and a guy that does have a band as well. I'm not sure how active that is. We'll find out tomorrow. And again, prominently featured in this documentary on a very rock and roll landmark hotel. The doc is called If These Walls Could Rock. I've seen it. And it is, again, on the Sunset Marquis in West Hollywood, California. And Billy Bob will be on to talk about the doc and whatever else we get into on tomorrow's show. We right now have him scheduled for the end of the show tomorrow, so it will be in the back end. As of now, he'll be with us at around 4:30 Eastern, so for like the last 25 minutes of the show. Trying to get him a little earlier if he has the time, but right now we'll take what we can get, and we'll have at least 20 with him tomorrow. Sorum at around 3:30 Eastern tomorrow, so we'll do our usual bit, get some news at the top, get to an interview, maybe a little bridge between Sorum and Billy Bob Thornton, and then finish with Billy Bob tomorrow. So very, very busy Trunk Nation on a Thursday tomorrow. Make sure you do not miss it. Again, live starting at 3 Eastern, anytime live or on demand using that app. Great way to get caught up on all. All right, yesterday we had a great time talking to you guys about Rock Gone Wrong, as we officially called the show. Some of your mishaps in the world of rock, things that have happened, interactions with rock artists, things that have happened at shows. We got all sorts of mixed stuff coming in from people on that yesterday. And we had a ton of people that did not get through when we had to end the show. So if you got more of that, that's all good. If you got something unrelated to that, that's all good. And if you want to touch on this, again, what I think is a huge story, but I also always put an asterisk on it when I'm talking about Deep Purple, because of what I said earlier, Purple is a band that's just looked at differently in America, but is clearly, no matter where you live in the world, one of the iconic rock bands of all time and massively influential. And the guy that looms large in that area is Ritchie Blackmore, who has not played in Deep Purple for 30 years. And again, not just hasn't played with them, was kind of like wouldn't talk about them, really didn't acknowledge that part of his life, even though he was a founding member, just really checked out of the whole rock world for a very, very long time. I talked about it at the top of the show. And again, it's been interesting to see Blackmore slowly start to kind of, in his 80s now, I believe he's 80. I don't know if he's 80, 81, slowly gravitate back towards here and there some rock stuff. Played with a version of Rainbow, whatever that was, 6-7 years ago. Yeah, Blackmore's 81. Shockingly, did some press talking about the Dio era of Rainbow for that reissue. And now, according to his post on social media, will get up on stage with Deep Purple for the first time in 3 decades tonight. Jones Beach, which is in Long Island, New York. And again, Blackmore lives there. People just assume he's a British dude. He must live in England. No, he's lived on Long Island for decades. I know this because my New York City FM radio show for years, I knew he heard it. I knew his wife heard it. Was in touch with them at that time. And I had always tried to get him to come on the show, because I would have so many of his former bandmates on the show, whether it was Ronnie Dio when he was still with us, whether it was Joe Lynn Turner, various drummers, guitar, bass players, what have you. But it was always like a no-go zone because he was totally focused on doing Renaissance music and didn't really want to address any of the past hard rock stuff. But now again, whether it's age or what it is, he is definitely coming around and warming up to that part of his life. And I don't know the Deep Purple guys have to know that this is going to open an enormous can of worms. Because people constantly, even though he's not been in the band for 30 years, people still constantly ask about him being in the band and potentially coming back to the band. So this takes a huge bucket of gas and throws it on that smoldering log. But then again, all of these guys are 80, give or take. I mean, you reach a point, I think, where you're just saying, like, screw it, man. And Blackmore kind of even alluded to that in his statement about doing this. A lot of years have passed, haven't seen the guys in a long time. I'm now up there in age. They're playing in his backyard. Why not grab the Strat and go down and rock a song or two? But the ramifications for this will be, a lot of people around the world are going to be buzzing about this. Let's see what happens. Again, anything with Blackmore, it's extraordinarily volatile at times. Now, in his older age, maybe not so much. But back in the day, anything could happen, and usually it did, with him playing gigs. 844-686-5628. 5863. Your calls for the next half hour to wrap it up on a Wednesday edition of Trunk Nation. Here's Karen, Long Island. Karen, go ahead.
Hey, Eddie, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Yeah, I'm getting ready for the show. My name actually is Karan. It's Karon. And so we'll go to the show tonight. Richie's definitely going to be there. I'm good friends with Candy. And, it's going to happen. It's going to be great. So definitely looking forward to this.
Do you know what he's going to play?
No, I don't. No, like you said before, he'd like to play Highway Star, but like you said, they open with that. So we'll see if he puts that on the end. You know what I mean?
Does he just, from what you know, is it just going to be one song or will it be more then?
Well, according to Candy, they're going to get there late and leave early. So, but let me tell you something. Once Richie gets on stage, anyone who's been to any of his shows, once he's playing, he plays. And my gut feeling is once he's playing, he's going to want to keep playing. That's how I feel. So I would think that they'll probably do more than one song.
Well, and him and Deep Purple are known for jamming, so even the one song could be 20 minutes.
Exactly.
I mean,
so I wanted to tell you this also. So back in '93, since I'm good friends with Candy, I flew out to Switzerland, to Zurich, for that show. And because we wanted to have fondue together in Switzerland. That's her favorite food. So we did that, and then that was October 21st, 93, and then his last show was like only 2-3 shows after that, Helsinki in, it was November of 93 was his last show with them. So, I've been through the whole ride with them through their, the Rainbow years and the Blackmore's Night years, everything. And no matter what he does, I mean, we all know he discovers new people all the time. Back in the day, obviously Ronnie, David Coverdale. He's really a wonderful person, and they are wonderful people as, being their friends. I mean, I was recently diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and they have people like they were out to dinner with Lars. They had Lars, make a video and send me a text. I love Sammy Hagar. He's my all-time favorite. And, I've been meeting and greeting with him for 40 years. Candy took me recently when he was playing in Jersey to see him and to meet with him. And, and he prayed over me. It was amazing. So they're just really good people. And, like you said, tonight's going to open a big can of worms.
Yeah, it's inevitable, and I think everybody's got to know that. And what happens with it going forward will be interesting. And I think, and first of all, I wish you well, and I hope you're doing okay. And please send my best to Carol and Candace. I've had exchanges with them over the years. I don't know Richie at all personally, but I send them my best, and my best to you. And the last thing, let me ask you this then, since you obviously are in the know on this. What do you think's happening that he seems to be coming back towards the rock end of things a little bit, like doing press for the Dio box set and now doing this tonight? What do you think? You think it's just him getting older and kind of embracing it again?
Yeah, I think it's, a little bit nostalgia, a little bit of, as we all get older, we, look back and, we, see things differently, that type of thing. Also, he recently put out Ride the Rainbow, the ultimate tribute to Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. You know about that? He put out a tribute. So Sebastian's on that. It's a great, CD. It really is. CD. You can tell my age, right?
Me too. I'm right there with you.
Definitely. So, but as far as him being nostalgic, yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, on his birthday, which he turned 81 in April 14th, we all got together for his birthday, and he loves to every now and again do these live Instagrams on his, either her Instagram or his. And so that night we went live. It had to be 4 hours we were on. You know what I mean? It was crazy. And people sending questions, and he's like, this is great. I don't have to leave my house and tour. I could talk to these people right from my bar in my house.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I mean, it's just a real change for him now at this point with some of these things he's doing, and I hope eventually he will come around and do this show because I'd love to talk to him and put a good word in for me. I appreciate it, and take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, okay? Best of health to you, most importantly, okay?
Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks.
Call in tomorrow with a report if you can. Let us know what happens.
Absolutely. Definitely. That sounds good. And I'll send some videos too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. First-hand account from a woman who is, friends with the Blackmores and is going to be there and says 100% it is happening. And it sounds as she said their plan is to go late and leave early, which means they probably don't want to deal with people and questions and hubbub, and probably get out of the car, go up on stage, have the guitar there, play a song or two, get right in the car, drive right out. I'm assuming that's how it's going to go down. It sounds that way. And song to be determined. If they flip Highway Star and they do it at the end, that would be cool. And they always jam on Highway Star. I don't know what Deep Purple's current encores are. I would think maybe Smoke on the Water is one of them. Joel, look that up. Go to Setlist, the Setlist site. Usually I go to setlist.fm and punch in Deep Purple, their show from the last night or two, the last couple shows they did, and see what their last couple songs are currently.
Let's see.
You can find that for me.
Genesis and Hush were their encore at the last show. They finished the main set with Space Truckin' and Smoke on the Water.
So Smoke, and then so Hush was the last song?
Yeah. That's at the last show that I have a set list for, looks like 3 nights ago at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida.
So they could easily flip-flop Smoke on the Water and Hush and have Smoke on the Water be the song with him and have them do that last. And one of the most iconic guitar riffs in history. Or they could throw Highway Star and open with something else and throw Highway Star at the end. But I could see him doing Hush, which is a big song. This is really, really interesting. I don't know if you guys understand the enormity of it, but there's enormity. Trust me, there's enormity. Globally. Here's Craig in Nova Scotia. What's up, Craig?
Hey, Eddie. How you doing?
Good. What's happening?
Good. Well, I was up in Toronto, Canada last week, and I got to see the Foo Fighters and Guns back to back. I got to say the Foo Fighters were amazing. Guns, I've seen them many times. They're great too, but I will.
Oh, Craig,
Foo
your
Fighter
phone.
kickers.
Wait, your phone dropped out. You said Guns were great too, and then you dropped out. Go ahead.
The ticket prices. I bought the Foos long in advance. Paid a lot for them. The tickets prices dropped like a rock before the show, even though it was 65,000 sold out. But Guns, the next night, we were able to get in the pit for like $200. Like, you're helping people out by telling them, I don't think I'll ever buy another ticket in advance. I think I'll just fly where I got to fly and buy the ticket there, because it's amazing. The prices are so exorbitant, but I think we've kind of reached the tipping point. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think people are just done, and the acts are just going to have to drop the price to get their seats, but see it sold.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, it's rampant, and you and many others call in every day with the similar stories of what you experienced, and thank you, Craig, for the call. And as everybody can see, the public has figured it out in the last couple of years, and it is absolutely going to become more and more of a problem for these promoters and how they're going to do this. I think the flex pricing thing is absolutely starting to implode on them, because it eventually, Craig and many, many others have figured it out. That pit ticket that he got for $200, I'm sure initially at the on sale was $500, $600, $700. I've heard of pit tickets going for $1,000. Especially with bands that are playing stadiums, because that's a lot of available tickets, especially with bands that tour all the time and play a lot of shows and are always out there. It's, it's endless stuff out there on the road, and some bands play a lot, and people have a lot of choices, and not a lot of people have a ton of disposable income. So they're either going to cherry pick what they want to see, or they're going to just play that waiting game and 9 times out of 10 have it work greatly to their favor and not get caught up in the pre-sale and the immediate on sale and get wrapped up in the FOMO of I'm not going to get into the show. Everyone's realizing how it works now, which is why I think at some point Ticketmaster and these artists are going to have to look at the flex pricing thing. Again, it's not going to work every show. I'd say 95% of the time it's going to work. There are going to be times where the ticket's going to be what the ticket's going to be. If it's a really hot ticket, it's not a stadium situation, it's less available seats, and it's something that people want to really need to see. I would say the worst case scenario is the price holds at what it originally went on sale. I've never really seen it go up beyond the initial on sale. It can, but that's rare. To me, an example of a show that is holding, or maybe you're not going to have a lot of wiggle room, is like Metallica at the Sphere. When that went on sale, everybody bitched and moaned about the cost of the tickets. All the shows sold out instantly, and they're not budging. So again, people bitch and moan. I remember when Guns first started up 10 years ago. Everyone bitched and moaned about the cost of the tickets. What'd they do? They all went out and bought them. So I guess the ticket wasn't overpriced. But Metallica at the Sphere, and I've been watching it and hearing about it, is a pretty firm priced ticket. Not a lot of movement there as of now. And then the other one would be Rush, because again, Rush hasn't played in 10 years. And yes, they're doing multiple nights in arenas, so there's a lot of available tickets. And even with that fan base, much of them wanting to go to more than one show, especially knowing that Rush are doing different sets. Even that, we've had calls from people saying, yeah, I got in for 100 less or 200 less day of. I think it was Roz that went to the shows at the Garden, and she called in and she got in a little less than face. So you're not going to get that drop of a $500 ticket going to 20 like you'll see on a lot of Shed shows, but you will, even on a show like that, because it's multiple nights in arenas, a lot of available tickets, there's way more wiggle room. Here's Chris in Louisiana. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Sir Edward. How you doing?
Good. What's happening?
Oh, not a whole lot. I wanted to touch a little bit on yesterday's show. Tried to get in, but ran out of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Big bummer. When you walked out and back in end of July for the Kiefer show and made the announcement that Tom wouldn't be able to perform and he was on his way to the hospital. And oh man.
No, he did not. Well, let me just be clear, Chris. When I announced Tom was not playing, he was not. I never said he was on the way to the hospital. I just said that he was not feeling well and unable to perform that night. He never went to the hospital, from what I understand. He got some medical attention to make sure he was okay and hydrated, but it was not a hospitalization situation. And what that happened that night in Houston a few weeks ago, that has nothing to do with what's happened recently to Tom. That was him not feeling well and dehydration. What's happened since is completely different. He blew out his voice.
Oh, exactly. 100%. Right. No, I thought you had mentioned something on the Monday when you got back that he did go to the hospital, not that night.
He went to an urgent care. There was an urgent care. Okay. When I sat with him on the bus, I told him, I said, you should go over to the urgent care, get checked out, maybe get some fluids, and I believe he did end up doing that. He recovered from that, went back, resumed his shows, and now what he's dealing with is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, it was a real bummer that night for me. I drove a 7-hour drive for me and $230 in a dang hotel for that night, and then got the email a couple of days later that they was going to reschedule for August, and so I'm all set to go to that one, and then this happened, and boy, yeah. Now I don't even know if he
so
can
Chris,
pull this
you were
over.
there in Houston the night that he didn't play, and I was there.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize you were actually there.
No, I was right at the edge of the pit there on the rail, and
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy next to me, and I just put my head down and shook, and he shook my head and everything. He was like, "Man, you okay?" I was like, "Man, I drove 7 hours for this shit." I was like, "Fuck, are you kidding me?" And then, so, oh well, it is what it is. And then I had to reschedule for Monday to go back out there. It was a Monday night show, and then the week prior to that is when he blew his voice out, and now it's like, I don't know if I'll see the cat again. It's pretty serious. And I'll let you touch on this off the air. I didn't know if you talked to him since all this happened, if you got any news of how he's doing with all this.
No, I reached out to him, and thank you, Chris, and I'm sorry that show went down on you twice. I mean, that's a hell of a job by you to drive 7 hours from Louisiana to Houston to see a Tom Kiefer show. I guess Tom wasn't playing in your area. I didn't look at all the routing, but yeah, I mean, that I say that often with shows that cancel here in Vegas. We had a lot of conversation earlier this week about Morrissey and the ridiculous stuff going on with him with cancellations. But that's who you really feel for. You feel for the people like Chris and others who traveled and took on the expense and the time and got hotel rooms that were non-refundable and what have you. I mean, it's your immediate thought when something gets canceled is like, oh, big deal. People come back the next time or they just refund their tickets. Yeah, that's true for the people that live in that area. But there are people that travel great distances to shows. And that's why it's really bad when people cancel in Vegas, because the majority of people, it's probably the one city where the majority of people travel to that city for that event or show. The majority of people do not live there. It's a percentage that do, but the bulk do not. So you think about how much that sucks for them to take on that loss and that expense. I remember when Aerosmith was trying to do that residency and they canceled twice, I think it was. And I was walking around the casino. For me, it wasn't a big deal. I just went home. But I saw all these people like, what do we do? What do we do? We got these rooms, we got flights, we're here. What do we do? And sure, they found other stuff to do in town. People I knew were all hitting me up like, hey, where do we go? What else can we see? What do you recommend? But when the thing you came for is not happening, it sucks. And look, the bands and artists do not want to do it. Nobody wants to cancel last minute like that. A lot of things get canceled because they don't sell, and usually that's enough advance notice. You can refund your flights, your hotels, whatever. But nobody wants to do that to fans last minute, and there's various reasons. And for Tom, he just physically could not go, and it killed him to have to cancel. But now he's dealing with a whole other thing, which is why the rescheduled date is also canceled. And I don't know. I did reach out to him right after it was announced. I sent him my best. I sent him a text. I've not heard from him. He put so much into getting his voice back and doing what he's been doing for the last few years that this has got to be a big time setback for him. But knowing him, and we had Fred Corey on talking about it, he will rally. He will do everything he can to try to get back, I'm sure. What the timetable is on it, I don't know. When he feels up to talking about it, I'm sure I'll hear from him. All right. Thank you guys for hanging with me on what was a fun Wednesday. And big thanks to Dave Pirner of Soul Asylum, who joined me earlier. If you missed it, it's on the app. We got video on that too. As soon as I get a chance here, I've been slammed, but as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to try to get a bunch of new video up of some of the interviews on YouTube. In the meantime, catch up with everything on the app. Interviews, full shows, what have you. Tomorrow, jam-packed one. Matt Sorum returns to the show. And tomorrow, Billy Bob Thornton joins us live on Trunk Nation. We'll see you at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, live tomorrow on Faction Talk 103 or the app.